Yesterday. Let's see.
Did he double up yesterday? Or did he
Yeah. This is it. It's 11. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, titled Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 8, titled Questions by Maharaj Parikshit, text 11. Purusha avyavaihi lokaha sapalaha purva kalpitaha lokaihi amushya avayavaha sapalaihi iti shushruma purushavairloka sapalav purvakalpitaha. It's sapalaf because there is a pa after the visarga. So it's not sapalah, it's sapalaf. Sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha. Sorry. Yeah, lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushrum purushavairloka sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushruma purushavairloka sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushruma. So when there is only a in the end, not a, when we are singing, it is okay to elongate it, but the elongation is a different elongation. There is a and there is a. So it doesn't mean that it has to get cut off, because the meter also has to be maintained. Please repeat. Purushavairloka sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushruma purushavairloka sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushruma purushavairloka sapalaf purvakalpitaha lokairamushya vayavaha sapalairiti shushruma Vairloka purvakalpitaha sapalairiti shushruma
Purusa vaya vaya loka.
Purusha vaya loka.
Sapala purva kalpitaha.
Alav purvakalpitaha
Lokaya mushyavaya vaha.
Lokaya musha
Yava
Sapale iti shushuma.
Sapala.
Afisi Shushma. Matajis. Shavaya Vailoka Kapala Purnakalpitaha Shushuma. Purusha, the universal form of the Lord. Virat Purushaha. It's written Virat Purushaha. Virat Purushaha. Avayavaihi, by different parts of the body. Lokaha, the planetary system. Sapalaha, with respective governors. Purva, formerly. Kalpitaha, discussed. Lokaihi, by the different planetary systems. Amushya, his. Avayavaha, different parts of the body. Sapalaihi, with the governors. Iti, thus. Shushruma, I heard. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O learned Brahmana, it was formally explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? Reading the next couple of verses. I'll just chant this myself. Yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha kalo numiyate bhuta bhavya bhavat chabda ayurmanam chayat sataha. Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Past, present, and future are different features of time to indicate the duration of life for the universe and all of its paraphernalia, including the different living beings in different planets. I'm also going to be reading the next two verses, but I'll stop and chant prayers here, say something little about these two verses, and then go on to the next two verses. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Purusha Vayavair Loka Sapalaf Purva Kalpitaha Lokair Amushya Vayavah Sapalair Iti Shushruma. O learned Brahmanas, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? So, the different demigods. So, what's this question? It seems like he's asking the same thing. But basically, situated in the different parts of the gigantic body and are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. So, the question that Parikshit Maharaj is asking is, are they part of the Virat Purusha or are they inside the Virat Purusha? This is kind of like what is the question that Parikshit Maharaj is asking here. Now, it is because the different demigods constitute the different parts of the Virat Purusha as it's stated here. Virat Purusha. Therefore, whenever we have different bodily ailments or things like that, in the Vedas it is recommended that those particular demigods be worshipped, because those different demigods control those different aspects of our material body. In our material body, whatever is there, exactly how it is in the Virat Purusha, that's exactly how our body is controlled. That is the respective jurisdictions of the different demigods over different parts of our body. And depending on our karma, the demigods allow the smooth functioning of those respective bodily parts, or they restrict the freedom of the movement of or functioning of those different body parts. So this is how. So that's why different demigods are in control of different parts of our body, because they are the parts of the Virat Purusha. Okay, so the next verse, Prabhupada writes that the past, present and future are different features of time to indicate the different duration of life of the universe and all its paraphernalia. So, different rishis, sages, devotees, they study the aspects of time. It's also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. What's that verse? That Brahma creates. Bhutva Bhutva. So how does it begin? Ratri agame vashav partha prabhavatyah ragame. Anyways, I can't remember right now. Anyways, I can't remember right now. Memory is failing. So that's the place where in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains that Brahma has this life and therefore there is creation and destruction. Why is that explained? To No. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduhu. Wait. No. Bhutagrama se evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratri agame vashavpata prabhavati haragame. So bhutagrama se evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate. That there is repeated creation and there is repeated creation and repeated destruction, and it is the aspects of time are studied to understand the impermanence of this world. That without understanding the impermanence of this world, what happens? You think that you have one life and you have to enjoy it all, and therefore they think that this world is meant for our enjoyment. Actually, it's very simple. Even if you just understand that the fact that there is repeated creation, repeated destruction, you will understand it doesn't take very long to understand that this world is not a place for enjoyment. Because if God had created this world for our enjoyment, why would He cause it to be destroyed? Why is there destruction? The Christians again cannot answer these questions. Or whatever, Abrahamic religions. Because they don't believe that first of all, they don't believe in a cyclic concept of time. The concept of time is linear. There is creation, there is destruction, and before that they don't know what happened, after that also they don't know what happened. You're permanently in hell or heaven or some kind of weird thing like this. So, they don't understand that they don't have a conception of cyclic time. Because they don't have a conception of cyclic time, they don't understand that this is actually bondage. You're trapped. You're trapped within this samsara chakra, the janma mrityu jaravya, the chakra, the birth, death, old age and disease, the cycle, and you're going through it again and again and again. Therefore, you have to come out of it. This knowledge does not arise because they don't know what time is. They have no conception of time. So therefore, see, that is the point. Yes, it is a fact that that there is some benefit, or let's say in the sense like it can be said that those who believe, faithful Christians who believe in God, they are somewhat pious. Yes, but because they lack so much knowledge, it's very difficult for them to not be materialistic. And therefore, it is very important to understand time. Because you don't understand. And it's simply because of understanding time, all these understandings are actually common between the Vaishnavas and the Mayavadis. They all agree. Yeah, time is impermanent, cycle of birth and death, you have to come out of it, and all that. And therefore, you will find even Buddhists, because they have a conception of cyclic time, they are thinking, oh, you have to attain nirvana, you have to come out of this situation. Is the moment you understand that there is cyclic time, you think a little bit about it. If you are a little thoughtful, you will understand this world is not meant for our enjoyment. Of course, those who are determined, what is that? Grihavrata. Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova Mito Vipatyeta Grihavratana. If they have taken a determination that I want to be a sense gratifier, even if they are within the Vedic culture, such as Hiranyakashipu, they'll still be determined, even if they understand. Hiranyakashipu spoke such wonderful philosophy. We can see when Hiranyaksha passed away. Amazing philosophy. So he knew about all this, but still, Grihavrata is there, then also you will not understand. But the purpose of understanding time is to understand the impermanence of it. Okay, text 13. Kalasyanugatiriyatu lakshyate brihatyapi yavatah karma gatayo yadrishir dvijasattama. O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action. Similar subject as the previous verse. Okay, text 14. Yasmin karma samavayo yatha yenopagrihyate gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam abhipsatam. Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. Okay, so this is the purport we will be speaking about. The actions and reactions of all the works in the material modes of nature, either in the minute form or in the gigantic form, are accumulated, and thus the result of such accumulated actions and reactions of karma or work become manifested in the same proportion. How such actions and reactions take place, what the different procedures are, and in what proportion they act are all subject matters of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries from the great Brahmana Shukadeva Goswami. Life in the higher planets, known as the abodes of the denizens of heaven, is obtained not by the strength of spacecraft, as is now being contemplated by the inexperienced scientists, but by works done in the mode of goodness. Even on the very planet where we are now living, there are restrictions upon the entrance of foreigners into a country where the citizens are more prosperous. For example, the American government has many restrictions for the entrance of foreigners from the less prosperous countries. The reason is that the Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who has not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. The higher planetary living conditions are all in the mode of goodness, and anyone desiring to enter the higher planets like the moon, sun and Venus must qualify thoroughly by activity in complete goodness. Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries are on the basis of proportionate actions of goodness, which qualify one in this planet to be promoted to the highest regions of the universe. Even on this planet of our present residence, One cannot achieve a good position within the social order without being qualified with proportionate good work. One cannot forcibly sit on the chair of a high court judge without being qualified for the post. Similarly, one cannot enter into the higher planetary systems without being qualified by good works in this life. Persons addicted to the habits of passion and ignorance have no chance of entering the higher planetary system simply by an electronic mechanism. According to the statements of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 25, persons trying to qualify themselves for promotion to the higher heavenly planets can go there. Similarly, persons trying for the Pitru Lokas can go there. Similarly, persons trying to improve the conditions on this earth can also do that. And persons who are engaged in going back home, back to Godhead, can achieve that result. Anybody knows which verse that is? Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrine yanti pitrivrataha, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti mat yajinopi mam. The various actions and reactions of work in the mode of goodness are generally known as pious work with devotional service, culture of knowledge with devotional service, mystic powers with devotional service, and at last, devotional service unmixed with other varieties of goodness. This unmixed devotional service is transcendental and is called Paraprakriti. It alone can promote a person to the transcendental kingdom of God. Such a transcendental kingdom is not a myth, but is as factual as the moon. One must have transcendental qualities to understand the kingdom of God and God Himself. So, here Parikshit Maharaj is asking about the proportionate accumulation of reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature and how they act upon the desiring living entity, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, it is just in my mind right now, but the verse basically says that Shariram yadavapnoti yacchapi ukramati ishvaraha grihit vaitani samyati vayur gandhani vashaya. So, this is, Krishna is explaining this basically, that the living entities, Shariram yadavapnoti, they get a particular type of body. Based on what? Shariram yadavapnoti yacchapi ukramati ishvaraha, based on their activities that they did in a previous life. Based on an activities they did in a previous life. Yacchapi ukramati ishvaraha. Grihit vaitani. Grihit vaita means they accept. Grihit vaitani samyati. They accept. Grihita. Vaitani samyati. Vayur gandhani vashaya. Just as air carries the fragrance or aroma. So air carries the fragrance and aroma is a very nice example. Why is that such an amazing example? Because fragrance does not actually belong to air. Air does not have fragrance of its own. Where does fragrance come from? Earth. Right? But air carries the fragrance. It carries the aroma, which means that the fragrance remains superficial to the air. But it is still carried by it. So in the same way, the living entity accepts a body just in the same way air accepts fragrance, but still the living entity is ultimately transcendental to the three modes of material nature. The three modes of material nature, based on the activities of the living entity, the three modes of material nature award a particular body. Maya, who is in charge of the three modes of material nature, awards a particular type of body consisting of the three modes of material nature, which the living entity accepts to perform activities in this world. And this is the process that Parikshit Maharaj is asking. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he explains that the actions and reactions, so he explains the question in the first paragraph. And then, Prabhupada in the second paragraph writes that in life in the higher planetary systems, known as the abodes of the denizens of heaven, is obtained not by strength of aircraft, spacecraft, as is now being contemplated by the inexperienced scientists, but by works done in the mode of goodness. You see this emphasis on the mode of goodness, you will find it quite a lot in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, and things like that. And in fact, in the end, Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, towards the end, he makes a very interesting point here. He says that the various actions and reactions of work in the mode of goodness are generally known. What are they known? Works in the mode of goodness, what are they known? They are known as pious work. Pious work with devotional service. What is that? Pious work is karma. Karma, Mishra, Bhakti. Prabhupada is speaking of Karma, Mishra, Bhakti. Culture of knowledge with devotional service. What is that? Jnana, Mishra, Bhakti. And then mystic powers with devotional service. Yoga, Mishra, Bhakti. This is Yoga, Mishra, Bhakti. And then devotional service unmixed with any varieties of goodness. Other varieties of goodness. What is that? Huh? No. What define that? Shuddha Bhakti, of course. But, what is that analoid? Can you explain? No. Can you explain it from just what you said here? Jnana karma dhyanavritam. Without jnana, karma and anadi avritam. Jnana karma dhyanavritam. That means jnana, karma and yoga is not there. Jnana karma dhyanavritam. Anukulyena krishnanu bhakti ruttama. Rupa Goswami gives definition. How does that begin? Anya bilashita shunyam. Jnana karma dhyanavritam. Anukulyena krishnanu bhakti ruttama. So Shuddha Bhakti is free from karma, jnana and yoga. It's free from this. But what is this? What is this karma and jnana and yoga? So, before that, just referring to the two purports that Srila Prabhupada is speaking of, he says that to go to the heavenly planets, you need to be in the mode of goodness. If you are not in the mode of goodness, you cannot go to the heavenly planets. Why? And he gives the example of America. Why is the example of America being shared here? Because when Srila Prabhupada is writing this purport at this point of time, he's trying to get his visa and situation figured out. Because this is towards the beginning of his establishing the Krishna consciousness movement in New York. And Srila Prabhupada came on a tourist visa. So he had to figure this out. And he was surprised to see how much they gave him a hard time. Prabhupada considered at that point, I think he got a green card in like 6 months or 3 months or something like this. And he considered that like difficult. Now they make you wait for years and years and years, as I'm experiencing right now. So, the point is, Prabhupada is making a really good point here that the American government has many restrictions for the entrance of foreigners from less prosperous countries. One may think, why is it that, demigods, they don't allow us to see, things, and you can't even see Mount Meru. Previously, it is said, since Mount Meru is north, in the previous ages, people would be able to see Mount Meru. You'd be able to see because it's in the north and it's so big. So how can you not see it? But we are not allowed to see these things. We are not allowed to go past, like if you look at the 5th canto description of the different, universal systems, it's very clear. And you see Pandavas also, Arjuna, before the, what is that yagya that Yudhishthira Maharaj did? Rajasuya. Before the Rajasuya yagya, he goes around, he goes to the other Varshas of Jambudvip. He goes to the other Varshas and he gets the allegiance of those kings. He gets them to come under Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj was not the ruler of just this earth. He was the ruler of the entire Jambudvip. It's quite amazing. So that means there are pathways to get to all these parts of the world, from these parts of the universe, from this earth that we are currently in. But we don't have access to those things anymore. Why? Because those residents, they're in a different mode of nature, and you have to qualify to get to that mode of nature, and otherwise you're just not allowed. You're not allowed. You cannot go. And therefore, and so Prabhupada writes here, the reason is that the Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who has not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. So this bodily conception of life is present everywhere. And therefore you cannot see, it's not very difficult to understand these things. It's not very hard to understand because we are experiencing that in this earth. I mean, Americans may not have so much experience, but because you have a powerful passport. But if you don't, it's really miserable. You can see. It's very, very complicated. It's very difficult. And so you won't be able to. You just can't. You cannot share that prosperity. You cannot force your way in. And so, to go to the heavenly planets, one needs to be in the mode of goodness. Now, going to the point of these Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. What is Karma Mishra Bhakti? So, I'll take over the screen now. Prabhupada, there's some nice descriptions here. Chapter 10, Canto 10, Chapter 10, text 20, 22. So this is a long purport where we are reading, we are chanting Damodara Ashtakam, month of Damodara. What is that? Kuveratma Jau, Murtaiva Yadvad, Tvaya Mochitau, Bhakti, Bhajau Kritaucha, Tata Prema Bhaktim, Swakame Prayacha, Namokshe Graho Mesti, Damodareha. So these two young men, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Kuvera. But because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked but cannot understand that they are. Therefore, because they are living like trees, for trees are naked but not conscious, these two young men should receive the bodies of trees. This will be proper punishment. Nonetheless, after they become trees and until they are released, by my mercy, they will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years, by the measurement of the demigods, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudev face to face and thus revive their real position as devotees. So this is Narada Muni cursing the sons of Kuvera to become trees. And you can see this pastime is being described that Narada it is by his curse, which is actually his blessing, upon these two sons of the demigod Kuvera, that they got to meet Krishna. And that verse in Damodara Ashtakam says that Tatav Prema Bhaktim Swakame Prayacha, that Krishna gave them love of God. That's what the verse says. It's quite amazing. Krishna gave them love of God. And so in the purport here, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada writes, that's another purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, by Karma Mishra Bhakti, one is elevated to the celestial kingdom. By Jnana Mishra Bhakti, one is able to merge in the Brahman effulgence. And by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one is able to realize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord. But pure Bhakti does not depend on Karma, Jnana or Yoga, for it simply consists of loving affairs. The liberation of the Bhakta, therefore, which is called Mukti, which is called not just Mukti, but Vimukti, surpasses the other 5 kinds of liberation, Sayuja, Sarupya, Salokya, Sharshti and Samipya. A pure devotee always engages in pure devotional service, Anukulyena Krishnanu Bhakti Ruttama. Taking birth in an upper planetary system as a demigod is a chance to become a further purified devotee and go back to Godhead. Narada Muni indirectly gave Manigriva and Nalakuvara the greatest opportunity by his so-called curse. So, the point is that when one comes to the mode of goodness and one is starting to practice devotional service, in the Kanishta platform, one can be a Karma Mishra Bhakta or a Jnana Mishra Bhakta or a Yoga Mishra Bhakta. And through these, by practicing that kind of devotional service, what result do they get? They don't get pure devotional service. They come closer to pure devotional service. But in the meantime, they waste time by going to the celestial kingdom, by trying to merge in Brahman effulgence, or by realizing the omnipotency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, what are some examples we can think of? Karma Mishra Bhaktas, there are so many. Basically, I'll read another purport in that regard. But Karma Mishra Bhakta is one who is practicing devotional service with material desires. He has material desires that he wants to fulfill. In some cases, he is praying to the Supreme Lord for fulfilling those desires, but he is actively cultivating material desires. This is the point. He's actively cultivating material desires, and because he is a devotee, he prays to the Supreme Lord for the fulfillment of those material desires. But he is also attached to performing devotional service. He is attached to Krishna in some way, shape, or form. Therefore, he is called a bhakta, he is called a devotee. Jnana Mishra Bhakta, at least I can think of one example, but Jnana Mishra Bhakta is one who is very interested, even after coming to the platform of devotional service where he is worshipping the Supreme Lord, he is still very much interested in this mental speculation, which is based, of course, Jnana Mishra Bhakta is based, his mental speculation is based on the Vedas. So specifically, he is very attached to still studying Vedanta. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly criticizes the sannyasis in Varanasi, headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. When they ask him, why are you not studying Vedanta? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies, I don't know the Bengali, but do you know the Bengali? So anyways, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies, my spiritual master called me a fool. He said, you're a fool. Vedanta nahi, yeah, something like that. Yeah, so my guru discovered that I'm a big fool. And therefore he told, don't study Vedanta, you chant this Hare Krishna mantra, and then there is a nice verse where he says that by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, मूर्ख तुम्ही so tomar nahi Vedanta adhikar, you don't have adhikar to study Vedanta. Krishna mantra japa sada ei mantra sar. That this of all the mantras, and the essence of all mantras is the Krishna mantra, which is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is criticizing that, that you are simply interested in studying this Vedanta and doing this mental speculation about grammar and this and that. And there is some intellectual sense gratification in this way, where you're speculating and you're thinking about these things. And, you might think that, well, we don't really see so many examples. Yeah, you won't see examples of that caliber today, because most of us are just immersed in sense gratification. You have to be in the mode of goodness really to a higher extent to be able to get into that kind of maya, But at least there are devotees who are very attached to unnecessarily studying, but they don't perform devotion. The inclination to perform service, the inclination, desire, enthusiasm to perform devotional service doesn't arise so much. They chant something and they are devotees to some extent. In fact, I know one particular devotee. If I say if I give some description, and they'll understand who it is. But this devotee doesn't chant rounds, but he reads like anything. You look at his library, it's amazing. He doesn't chant. What is that? Murkha tumi tamar nahi Vedanta adhikar. You don't, stupid, Krishna mantra japa sada, ei mantra sar. We didn't get that. He didn't get that. Still didn't get it, So this is example. Jnana. So much, because there is taste in this knowledge, right? There is taste. Similarly, there is taste, little, sense gratification taste in karma to fulfill sense gratification. Similarly, in this intellectual pursuit where you just read book after book after book, and such a person like that is the more amount of books pile up on his shelf, the more happier and happier he becomes. But it is just another form of Maya. And then there is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So Yoga Mishra Bhakti is where specifically they are attached to mystic, abilities. Now again, we are so fallen. What mystic ability? We have nothing. It's like we are not qualified. First of all, first condition Krishna puts for Ashtanga yogas, you have to be celibate. There only, pretty much the entire population of Kali Yuga gets what do you call that in bowling? You strike. Immediately they are struck out right there, out. It's like all the pins fall out. Just by that one word celibacy, everything is finished. So where do you go? Where do you go with Ashtanga Yoga? But there is at least one devotee. I was a little surprised to find out. He is little this way, that way, weird. But on Facebook, he puts all these pictures of these different Babajis. And interestingly, until he posted, I didn't know that there were like, these are not Radhakund Babajis, but these are like, these kind of like, they're not Mayavadis. They might be, they could be, but they live in these forests of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and all these places. And personally, if you ask them, they consider themselves to be Vaishnavas. Then they perform. Now, some of them actually worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I didn't know that. Some of them worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some of them chant Hare Krishna and all this, but at the same time they exhibit some mystic abilities, and then sometimes they are also seen worshipping Shiva and something like this. But they exhibit some mystic ability. He writes about how these things, how they predict certain things and how they say some things and how they like wave their hand and cure something and this and that. And there are people like this. And some of them are actually performing devotional service they identify themselves as Vaishnavas. But they are not doing exactly what our acharyas are saying to be done, like what Bhakti Siddhanta says, what Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. They delineate, but they have their own kind of like worship. So in them you can see actually some Yoga Mishra Bhakti you can find in such people, and actually they don't even know how to read and write. This is the class, but they are very austere. They can roam around naked, see all kinds of beautiful women and not be completely not attracted by any sense. They can walk around the cities and this and that completely naked, and they are not going to have a problem of being aroused and being embarrassed in public. It doesn't happen. Whereas we can see where we are. It's like, so this kind of mix is there, and it's said that by, we see here that by these different processes, you realize something, you get some benefit. Now, going to another purport, 11, Canto 11, Chapter 2, text 36. This is a very nice verse, which is repeated in a similar manner in many scriptures. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmanava Vanushrita Swabhavat Karoti yed tat sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti samarpaye tat. There is many, just the popular form of reciting this, which comes from the Vishnu Sahasranama, is Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmanava prakate swabhavat karomi yet sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti samarpayami. It's the same, literally the same meaning. So what does that mean? In accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life, whatever one does with body, words, mind, senses, intelligence, or purified consciousness, one should offer to the Supreme, thinking this is for the pleasure of Lord Narayana. Okay, so here is a very famous verse. Why? Because this is particularly directed at Karma Mishra Bhaktas, or to encourage people to come from the platform of karma to Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is Karma Mishra Bhakta. That is what Karma Yoga is. So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that, because of enmity against the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His omnipotent authority, the conditioned living entity performs activities against the order of the Lord. So, in a conditioned state, we are performing activities against the order of the Lord. Yet, self-realized souls continue to perform all types of work within this world to carry out the mission of the Supreme Lord. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, those karmis who are sufficiently pious follow the example of the self-realized souls by trying to offer the fruits of their own duties at the lotus feet of the Lord. Although this is counted as Karma Mishra Bhakti or devotional service mixed with desire to execute fruitive activities, such mixed devotional service is gradually transformed into pure devotional service as the fruitive workers disengage themselves step by step from the bogus philosophy of enjoyment of one's hard-earned rewards. Pure devotional service rewards them with complete good fortune. It's such an amazing explanation that Bhakti Siddhanta is giving. You see, we are all after sense gratification. This primarily majority of us are after sense gratification. And because of that, we are very interested in performing different activities. If you just told to sit and chant Hare Krishna, it's not going to happen. We are not going to do it. We need to perform different activities. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that self-realized souls continue to perform all types of work within this world to carry out the mission of the Supreme Lord. So the pure devotee, in order to carry out the mission of Lord Chaitanya, comes up with all these different schemes and different ideas to do so many different kinds of activities that there's not enough time to do it. And seeing their example and by their preaching, the conditioned souls like ourselves become inspired to perform devotional service. We become inspired. Okay, let me also do this. Although when we initially performed such devotional service, we are not purified of our material desires. There is a difference between Srila Prabhupada cooking for Krishna and us cooking for Krishna. There is a difference. The difference is the fact that Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, free from material desires, cooking purely for the pleasure of Krishna, and we're not. We are trying to do that. We are, as Prabhupada, as Bhaktisiddhanta is writing, those karmis who are sufficiently pious follow the example of the self-realized souls by trying to offer the fruits of their own duties at the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, we are trying to offer the fruits. So, we are not trying to enjoy it? Right? Are we not? When we are trying to offer the fruits of own duties at the lotus feet of the Lord, are we trying to enjoy it or are we trying not to enjoy it? Let's take the example of cooking. You're cooking for Krishna. You're cooking. Are you cooking and then are you trying to enjoy that cooking or are you cooking for Krishna? You're trying not to enjoy. Why are you trying not to enjoy it? Because we have the bogus philosophy of enjoyment of one hard-earned rewards. I've cooked it nicely. At the end, when I sit and have a meal, the mentality is there, the philosophy is there that I should enjoy. Of course, we are in one sense we are trying to follow the examples of the acharyas, and this is we must be grateful to the acharyas like Srila Prabhupada that he had nice foodstuffs cooked, offered to Krishna, and he also ate nice foodstuffs. If he didn't eat, if he was eating only leaves and greens, what will we eat? We won't have anything to eat. If Prabhupada didn't give us rasgullas, if Prabhupada didn't give us all these amazing foods, what will we eat? We are not free from that bogus philosophy of enjoyment. Although we are cooking and offering to Krishna, and this is for Krishna, still, if our acharyas did not show the example of performing different activities for the sake of propagating the movement of Lord Chaitanya, we will not be performing devotional service. And by doing that, by following in their footsteps, how do we get free from this bogus mentality? Because they ask us to follow. Krishna asks us to follow them. We are following. By that following, Krishna becomes pleased. Acharyas become pleased. By their mercy, what happens? We gradually disengage ourselves step by step. Devotional service rewards them with complete good fortune. That mercy descends, and then automatically that taste starts to go away. Otherwise the taste won't go away. It will not go away. Therefore it is so important to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. It is very, very important. We cannot reject the previous devotees. I was shocked to hear. Recently I heard there is some sannyasi who lets some devotees, because there's some weird idea of this Raganuga Bhakti, they don't, apparently this what he told me, he said, Prabhuji, we don't do all these like different purification and all this when we go on the altar. We just go and we do the arati, that's all. We don't do different purification, chant different mantras and this and that. But what's even better is that particular sannyasi doesn't even feel there is a requirement for second initiation for worshipping the deity. He says, see, when I think you're qualified, that's all. It's quite so esoteric that he thinks that if you're qualified, you could just go onto the altar, that's all. And worship Radha and Krishna. deities. Why is this bogus? Why Prabhupada couldn't think like that? You're so much more advanced that Prabhupada and Bhakti Siddhanta, who are actually residents of Vrindavan, they don't think like this. They think when somebody is qualified, they give them Brahman initiation, then they send them on the altar and they teach them all kinds of worship. But no, some weird idea you have. This is nonsense. So the thing is, when we don't, then what happens? It is impossible to disengage ourselves from the bogus philosophy of enjoyment of one's hard-earned rewards. You cannot do it. And then what happens? What happens is that enjoyment mentality doesn't go away. You don't go back to God. You won't even go to the spiritual world. Forget about Goloka Vrindavan. In fact, actually, in many cases, seva parad, offense happens. See, people who don't follow, at least if they are not offensive, then they may go to the heavenly planet. But you are being offensive. So what happens? More material desires cultivate in your heart. More material desires cultivate means you will be in mode of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance means even the demigods won't have you. What the hell are you doing here? Even though you are a devotee, it doesn't mean that just because you are a devotee, but you live like a pig. That Indra is supposed to come and welcome you over there just because you happen to be a devotee. It doesn't happen like that. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha. Unless you are situated in the mode of goodness, you are not going urdhvam. Madhye tishtanti rajasaha. If you are very passionate and you are still a devotee, you will still stay on this platform. And then if you are a tamasic devotee, real moded out fellow, that if your devotional service is influenced by the mode of ignorance, such that you are still kind of a devotee, but you are very attached to intoxication, all this kind of crazy stuff. Sleep, indolence, laziness, this, that. Adho gachanti tamasaha. It's there. Of course. There is also the fact that you perform devotional service, human birth is guaranteed. Yeah, human birth is guaranteed if you perform devotional service. But you are performing devotional service with a bunch of offenses in the holy dham. The next birth is not a human birth. So there seems to be other criteria also. Now what's the other criteria for a person in the Western world who's living like a pig, but is still somewhat a devotee? I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. But I think we can safely say that it's not a position that we want to be ourselves in. So, so this is just amazing. It's such an amazing thing. Now, there is another thing I want to read from an audio transcript of Srila Prabhupada. I have to increase the font size here. Okay. So Prabhupada writes, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knew that this is Kali Yuga. It is very difficult, very, very difficult to engage people strictly in the Varnashram Dharma. Actually, it is difficult. Who is going? If you open a Varnashram college, there will be no student. Because they will think, what is this nonsense Varnashram? Let us learn technology, we shall get good salary, we shall earn money. I found it very interesting because Prabhupada at the same time he wanted Varnashram colleges. Prabhupada himself is speaking about that here. It's kind of interesting. Prabhupada is saying, who will come? We will learn technology, we will get good salary. Yes, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, Eho Bahye, Aage Karo Ar. In this age, it is not possible, Varnashram Dharma. So if you say something is better than this, you say. So in this way, Ramananda Rai recommend Karma Tyag, Sannyas, many stages. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on saying, Eho Bahaya, Aage Kaho Ar. This is useless now. If you know better, then say something better. So the point is, Ramananda Rai, when speaking to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recommends Varnashram, then it goes to Karma Mishra Bhakti, then Jnana Mishra Bhakti, like this. He goes on. Then, Prabhupada says, so then at last, not at last, in the middle, Ramananda Rai said, Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva, bhavadiya vartam, sthane sthita shrutikatam tanuvan manobhi. The purport is that all these processes recommended in the Shastra, Varnashram Dharma, acceptance of sannyas, or other Karma Tyag, Mishra, Karma Mishra, Jnana, there are so many things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Eho Bahya. But when he quoted one passage from Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the statement of Lord Brahma, Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. Jivanti san mukharitam bhavadiya vartam. Sthane stita shrutikadam tanuvan manobhir. Ye prayaso jita jitopya pitraisti lokyam. So, our aim is how to realize God. That is the aim. So there are many different processes recommended in Shastra. Varnashram Dharma, Karma Tyag, Karma Sannyas, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti. All of them were rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when he quoted this verse, what is this? Jnane Prayasam. People are trying to understand the absolute truth by speculation, according to one's knowledge. The so-called philosopher, theosophists, theologists, these are useless. You cannot speculate to understand the absolute truth. That is not possible. Therefore, Brahma recommends that one should give up this nonsense practice. It is not nonsense, but at the present moment it has no use. The so-called theosophists, theologists, philosophers, they do not know, speculators. So this sort of practice, jnane prayasam, endeavoring after knowledge, udapasya, give up. Jnane prayasam udapasya. Then what is required? Namanta eva, just become submissive. Just become submissive. Don't think yourself as very great philosopher, theologist, scientist. Just be humble. My dear sir, just be humble. Namanta eva. Then what shall be my business? Alright, I shall become humble. Then how shall I make progress? Namanta eva. Now namanta eva. Sanmukharitam. Bhavadiyavartam. Just hear the message of God. From whom? Sanmukharitam. Through the mouth of the devotees. Not professional, not gramophone. Through the lips of a real devotee. Some statement for the Ritviks. So then, next, I will have to become sannyas or grahastha or what? No, sthane sthita. You remain wherever you are. Either you are grahastha or vanaprastha, or apart from that, either you are a medical man or engineer or politician or businessman or shopkeeper, something in your position there is. So you remain that. Sthane sthita. You remain. Simply you have to hear the message of Godhead, Krishna, through the realized saintly person. This recommendation. So, so Prabhupada continues, if you go on speculating, you will never be able to understand. Therefore, give up this practice. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. Be submissive. If you think, I am so much advanced, I can speculate. Why shall I go to a devotee and hear from him? No, you will have to adopt this. Why? Yadi, if you want to conquer, ajita means Krishna or God. Nobody can conquer him, but you can conquer him. How? By this process. Remain in your process, remain in your situation, in your occupation, but try to hear from the realized soul. Very simple thing. So, the point is that all these Karma Mishra Bhaktas, Jnana Mishra Bhakta, Yoga Mishra Bhakta, they are all puffed up. That's the problem. They are puffed up and therefore they are unable to surrender. They are unable to follow the pure devotee. They are unable to accept the pure devotee. They cannot accept. See, this is what it requires. This kind of speculation comes even after they come. It seems they have accepted spiritual master. It seems they have come within. It seems they have read Prabhupada's books. It seems they accept Prabhupada as authority, but they don't. They don't follow Prabhupada. It's called being puffed up. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shikshashtakam, he's saying, he says, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishtuna Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sadahari. Who can follow, who can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly? One who is humble. One who is humble and more humbler than a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree. Such a person can chant the holy name. Otherwise we cannot chant. We will get some other birth. We will go to the heavenly planets. There we will enjoy with some 4 apsaras. If Indra allows you. Then what's the use? You think you'll chant Hare Krishna there? You think you'll be doing Guru Puja to Prabhupada there? No. That won't happen. This is more relevant for us. I can say, same thing. You go to Brahman, what's happened? Say you attain omnipotency and you get mystic power, what's the use? But the point is that if you're not humble and if we don't follow the instructions of the acharyas, we don't hear from a pure devotee, there is no hope. And in that verse that we just read, 10, this Jnane Prayasam verse, in the last paragraph, Srila Vishwa Chakravarti Thakur has explained the words Tanvan Manobhihi In regard to Namantaha, offering obeisances, he says the devotees can take full advantage of transcendental topics of the Lord by offering all respects to these topics with their body, words and mind. One should engage his body by touching the ground with his hands and head while offering obeisances. You have to touch head, not do push-ups. So you have to touch the head, the ground. And should engage his words by praising the transcendental literature such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the devotees who are preaching such literatures. So it's not just devotees who are preaching Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, you have to praise them also. And one should engage his mind by feeling great reverence and pleasure while hearing the transcendental topics of the Lord. So you have to have great reverence and pleasure while hearing the topics of the Lord. Not that when we sit in the Bhagavatam class, we think, my God, when will we finish rambling on the Vyasas? And it can't be like that. You have to have great reverence and while hearing the and pleasure also. The reverence is a pleasure. My God, pleasure. So it's like right now we are feeling the other way, feeling miserable. We have to feel pleasure. We have to feel pleasure while chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, sleeping, chanting, and just hate it. Every single inch, atom of that body is describing the misery that is found. Thousands of volumes of books can be written at every japa period, how miserable that devotee feels. How every japa period, without failing, he finds that particular corner where he can go and fall asleep. It is not possible. We have to, you see, we cannot sustain in devotional service if we do not come to this platform. If we do not come to this platform, it is not possible to sustain devotional service. And in this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back home, back to Godhead for eternal life at the Lord's side. So a humble devotee goes back home, back to Godhead. It's not expert in Shastra, expert at giving lecture, being, best in cooking or book distribution or management, whatever, becoming, a leader or something like that. No, its main thing is about staying humble. And last purport that I want to read, this is also from the 11th canto. It's a few verses after the verse that we read. So this, Nayaswaf para iti Vitteshwatmani vabhida sarvabhuta samashanta savai bhagavadottamaha. When a devotee gives up the selfish conception by which one thinks this is my property and this is his, and when he is no longer concerned with the pleasures of his own material body or indifferent to the discomforts of others, he becomes fully peaceful and satisfied. He considers himself simply one among all living beings who are equally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a satisfied Vaishnava is considered to be at the highest standard of devotional service. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that, where is that? Oh yeah. Where is that verse? That Karma Mishra, Kanishta Adhikari, is it 11 to 51? Sorry. Nayasya janma karma bhyam na varnashrama jati bihi sajjatesmin aham bhavo dehe vai sa harev priya. Birth in an aristocratic family and the execution of austere and pious activities certainly cause one to take pride in himself. Similarly, if one enjoys a prestigious position within society because his parents are highly respected members of the Varnashram social system, one becomes even more infatuated with himself. But if despite these excellent material qualifications, one does not feel even a tinge of pride within himself, he is considered to be the dearmost servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, anyways, I should have made a note of that. Yeah, it's like that. It's similar to that. Anyways, it's similar to what's being stated here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sums it up in just one nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. So what does Bhakti Siddhanta says? According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Kanishta Adhikaris, who's Kanishta Adhikari, thinks that Karma Mishra Bhakti or devotional service mixed with material endeavor is the ultimate in spiritual life. What is that? What is that? See, whenever there is anything that causes pride, that becomes Karma Mishra Bhakti. Immediately it becomes Karma Mishra Bhakti. If you become puffed up that I am performing devotional service, I am so great. I am whatever, best book distributor, I am best, best in this, best in that, I am so expert in this, I sing so well, I am such a great musician, and this and that, and I'm immediately, that is Karma Mishra Bhakti. Immediately, what platform are we on? Kanishta Adhikari. You are a Kanishta Adhikari. And that Kanishta Adhikari specifically, he thinks that is the goal of devotional service, to make a show of devotional service and to do like that. And it's crazy how prevalent how easily that attaches to oneself, because you develop some qualifications in devotional service, you become puffed up because of that. And that becomes the aim and goal of his devotional service. Without that, he has no taste. When he just has to perform regular devotional service, he feels no pleasure. He feels no pleasure just washing pots or something. But when he's the hero somewhere, then he feels pleasure in devotional service. Otherwise, he has no taste. No taste. You just have to chant japa, what is there? Nobody, there's no taste in that. So he does 40,000. It's like there's no taste. He does 40,000, find some other excuse. The moment he has to control 5 people, immediately he becomes very enthusiastic. Now I'm the manager. This. But then when he just has to perform some devotional service, there is no enthusiasm. There is no taste. When he has to give class, he is very enthusiastic. But when he sit and hear the class, he is not enthusiastic. So in this way, and he thinks that becomes ultimate. His aim and purpose of devotional service is to perform like this. So, and then the quote, Varnashrama Charavata. Thus, they think that material work in which a portion of the fruits are offered to God forms the highest platform of devotional service. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there are several Smriti literatures that have encouraged such mixed devotional service. Such books are taken by materialistic devotees as a facility for offending the holy name of the Lord because of egoistic attachment to the material body. Thus one thinks that a prestigious position in the Varnashram system, according to birth and so-called pious activities, is a prerequisite for becoming successful. But those who have actually taken shelter of the holy name of Krishna never boast about their birth in the material world, nor do they pride themselves on their so-called expertise in material work. As long as one's mentality is encumbered by material designations of the Varnashram system, one has very little chance of becoming free from material bondage and establishing himself as dear to the Lord. In this regard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphatically declared that he could not identify himself with any Varnashram designation such as that of a great intellectual or priest. I'll skip a few lines here. Bhaktisiddhanta writes, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when a devotee understands that the process of Bhakti Yoga is complete in itself and he becomes absorbed in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, the supremely merciful personality of Godhead affectionately lifts such a first-class devotee unto his own lap. Unto his own lap, Supreme Lord lifts the devotee and places it on his own lap. But for that, one has to become absorbed in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Otherwise, there is no hope. We have to, and therefore prayer, mechanical performance of devotional service, mechanically going through, mechanically chanting 16 rows, mechanically singing, Aha Prabhu. He's crying there, whereas actually the song it's enthusiastic. Aha Prabhu Karodo. It's an earnest prayer. And what do we have to pray for? Do we not know what to pray for? You can pray. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. Do you have that? We don't have it, right? So if we don't have it, we can pray. We can pray for that. We can pray for the 26 qualities of a devotee. We need to develop these things. You cannot go back home back to Godhead if we don't develop these things. We need to pray for these things. We need to pray. Why? Even if we are attached, which is a good thing, if we are attached to performing service to Guru and Krishna, and we want to continue performing such service throughout our life, without developing these qualities, it's not going to continue long. Because it's influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance. When we will slip from the tightrope, we don't know. So we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna to develop these qualities so that we can perform such devotional service eternally. Eternally we can, serve Krishna in so many ways. Primarily by propagating the Sankirtan movement. So in this way, it's very, very important to develop that absorption in hearing and chanting, and that is what will get us out of the Karma Mishra Bhakti platform. That will get us out of the Kanishta Adhikari platform. So it's very important that a devotee gives importance to this and molds one's life in a manner that somehow or the other, it's a lifelong process. It doesn't happen overnight. But one has to make progress. Step by step we have to disengage. It's a nice verse in Brahma Samhita. Shanai Shanai Ruparamet. Sorry, that's Bhagavad Gita. This verse in Brahma Samhita. No. It comes Saraswati, Tasya Divya Saraswati, Kama Krishnaya Govinda, He Gopichane Ityapi, Vallabhaya Priya Vakhner, Mantram Te Dasyati Priyam. And then Tapastam Tapayetena, Tavasiddhir Bhavishyati. Anyways, that's where it comes. Over there it says a devotional service performed in small increments. That's how Bhaktisiddhanta translates it. Anyways, it's the same thing. Bhagavad Gita says, Shanai Shanai Ruparame, that's still correct. Pramanais tat sadacharais tad abhyasai nirantaram bodhayan atmanatmanam bhaktim apyuttamam labhet. What is the translation?
The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice.
It's such an amazing verse. Such an amazing verse. Okay, Hare Krishna. I've gone over time and the devotees have to leave on Sankirtan early, so I'm going to end the class here. Please forgive me, there is not enough time. I really wanted to go over those purports. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.